To continue with the local perspective, we'll now switch our focus to the light general aviation aircraft. Of course, those single-engine piston aircraft are not immune from having excursions, and we need to be cautious of a number of different things. And with us, we have our local expert, Liz Staffany. Liz is the president of PlaneMinderLLC. She's been flying in the SoCal area for over 10 years, has over 6,000 flight hours, and has typed in a number of different airplanes, and is also a board member for the Santa Monica Airport Association, who we'll hear from towards the end of the presentation. Liz, the microphone is yours.
Hi, Alex. Thank you very much for the invite here. Again, my name is Liz. I fly everything from a Piper Cub to a Pilatus PC-12 to a Citation. Today I'll be talking primarily about the light GA operations at Santa Monica, so piston, single, and twin-engine airplanes. What I wanted to do when we heard about the Santa Monica runway shortening was basically go back to basics. So that was taking students, that was taking pilots, airplane owners back to basics and practicing shorter landings, or more accurately, spot landings. So we started even before the runway closure and shortening by going to other airports and kind of simulating, okay, we have a shorter runway to operate on, let's practice this. With that, on the slide that you're looking at, we wanted to review threshold markings and runway markings. So you can see the circle on the left, the purple circle, that's showing you your basic runway threshold markings. The circle on the right is showing you your 1,000-foot markers, those long white rectangles. So for me and my typical client, if you can land on a spot, whether it's those numbers, the 1,000-foot markers, et cetera, you should be pretty good at a 3,500-foot runway like the new Santa Monica. If we look at our next page, what I also thought about going back to basics with these clients is we need to review what these markings mean. That is so critical, especially at this new, unusual Santa Monica airport. Yellow chevrons, as we see here, are totally unusable to us as pilots. We cannot taxi on these. We cannot do a takeoff roll on these. We cannot roll out after a landing on these. It's totally unusable tarmac. So that's one of those things that back to basics, let's review these things, and pilots need to remember this. On the next slide, we can see a displaced threshold. This was a big debate and a big source of misunderstanding, I think. I only show the slide to emphasize that this is not what we have at Santa Monica. It's unfortunate. It's not what we have. We do not get to utilize a displaced threshold. On the next slide, you can see a really nice aerial drone shot of Santa Monica while it was under its shortening construction. You can see that we have a lot of pavement still available. It's important to emphasize that this pavement, of course, is not usable due to those chevrons. So it could be a bit of an illusion to pilots coming into this airport. If you haven't operated at an airport with chevrons, this is going to look different. A lot of us local SoCal pilots know this sort of thing. Camarillo is a neighbor airport that actually has chevrons, so we got a lot of practice with this. But if you haven't seen this, do remember, where does your runway begin? Your runway begins at those runway threshold markings, or where you see the number 21. That's usually kind of a safe bet. If you see the numbers, you can touch down there. Next slide. Here, this picture, I really wanted to depict something that's interesting. If you are looking at a runway or taxiway diagram of the new Santa Monica, if you land on runway 21, you are going to have to roll out really far to find your taxiway to exit. What we used to have at Santa Monica Airport was, everyone heard it from the tower controllers. It was, you can taxi off or roll off anywhere. It's all hard surface. That is no longer. You have to roll out, stay on that center line, and if you look at the little red arrow that I drew, if you zoom in, it's hard to see, but kind of out of nowhere, a yellow taxi line appears just to either side of your runway center line, right there where that arrow is pointing. All you have to do is look for the yellow taxi line, yes, even on the runway, and follow that, and it makes a soft turn to the right, you can see, or a soft left turn, or a turn to the left. and that will guide you. It's just like holding on to like a little leash. That will guide you off the runway and safely onto the taxiway. And those little circles that I drew there, those are circling your taxiway signage. So that's telling you in this case that that's Alpha 2 or Bravo 2. So you see the sign. After the sign, that's where your taxiway is. And this is a great rule at airports you're unfamiliar with or a new airport layout like Santa Monica, or at night. Stay on that runway center line. Wait till you see the yellow taxiway line and then follow it off. It makes it so easy, and you're not going to hit anything. You're not going to have a runway incursion. You're not going to have a pilot deviation. Conversely, on this same slide, if you're the little blue airplane that I drew, the little stick airplane there, if you were maybe taking off on runway 3 or you had to abort or something, you can see as you taxi down or drive down runway 3, those taxi lines appear again, and they would give you that valuable guidance to turn left or right safely onto the taxiways. The other thing for the taxiways at Santa Monica, both for light piston operations or big boys, is these are very narrow, small taxiways. So everyone needs to be on their toes, on their game. Don't do anything rushed. Take your time and follow these taxi lines. They're going to help you a lot. On the next slide, this is just a basic reminder. Accelerate stop distance if you're operating in a twin engine. Pull out these performance charts. When was the last time you did that? For pilots that own their own airplane, maybe they haven't looked in their POH in a while. For a student, maybe they're intimidated by these. Call up a local instructor. Call up a pilot friend. Take the time to open your POH and look at this data. At Santa Monica for light GA, you should be pretty good on 3,500 feet, but we don't want complacency. So open up those charts and refresh. See how it is on a really hot summer day. We've been getting warmer summers lately here in Santa Monica. See how your airplane performs. Load it up in a scenario. Load it up with fuel, passengers, your dog, etc., and see how long that takeoff roll is going to take. See how long your landing roll is going to take. Operate safely within your envelope. And if you don't feel comfortable, talk to an instructor. That's what we're all here for. The next slide is a trusty Cessna 172 short field takeoff distance performance chart. Again, it's just that reminder to pull out the POH. And then this slide here is provided by the Santa Monica Airport website. And it is also a little loose leaf flyer that you can pick up in person at the admin building. And the emphasis here is noise abatement. So any VFR departure out of Santa Monica is doing the same thing we've done for a decade plus. On takeoff, you're making that soft, shallow left-hand turn to orient your aircraft over the golf course that sits at the departure end of runway 21. All you have to do is that shallow little turn, get your airplane over the golf course, and then once you're at the beach, make your turn or whatever you're doing in the pattern there. But do please try and abide by our noise abatement procedures to keep our neighbors happy. Overall, that's everything I have to say. It's mainly that emphasis to review and refresh and stay proficient with your airplane or the airplane that you're renting. Call your local instructors. Stay sharp. Don't be complacent. Thank you.